Today we're talking with Greg Keneally, CEO of newly formed Mission Hill Hospitality, a KSL company. Mission Hill was one of the most aggressive buyers in the select service hotel space in 2021. We're going to find out why the entry into this new space and why now. Thanks for joining. All right, Greg Keneally, thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited. This one's going to be great. Thank you for being here. Sorry you got roped in.
No, good. My pleasure. Happy to do it. It's an honor.
So here's what I want to do. Obviously, I want to have you listen. You guys, for me at least, were a great story. We selfishly have done a ton of work over the last year.
Yes, much
But
appreciated.
I think the story is one for the industry, so I want to share it with everyone. So obviously, where I'm starting is I think you sort of came out of nowhere to be one of the most active players in our space. So I want to know how you did it, why you did it, and where you're headed next.
Okay.
But before we do that, before we talk about KSL and Mission Hill, as always, my favorite question, I got to know, who is Greg Keneally and how did you end up in this crazy space that we call the hotel world?
Well, let's see.
I got you. I stumped you already. This is good.
No. So the how I got into the hotel world, honestly, is more dumb luck than strategy, to be candid. I come out of, yeah, it's a little bit silly, but it all's well that ends well, I guess. So after I graduated from Kellogg in Chicago, I was working for LaSalle Investment Management, the traditional real estate private equity group, and came to understand that the hotel investment industry seemed a lot more interesting than sort of office and industrial. And I was fortunate enough to have a friend who worked at Jones Lang LaSalle, a guy named Guy Geller, Lawrence Geller's son, who was kind enough, after chatting with me a bit about what I want to do with my career, to introduce me to his dad. So if you know Lawrence Geller, he's a very colorful individual. And after 6 months of doggedly pursuing his administrative assistant, I got a 20-minute meeting, which was incredibly intimidating, in his fancy offices on the 44th floor of West Wacker Drive. And I went in for the meeting. We had a good chat. And sort of at the end, I said, well, you know, Mr. Geller, if there was ever a chance to work here, I'd love the opportunity. And he looked me square in the face and said, that's great, kid, but you don't know shit about hotels. And so he said, but you know, you seem like a nice young man. If you can convince my CEO to hire you, I won't object. And so he introduced me to Richard Moreau, who was the CEO of Strategic for a long, long time, who has now become a good friend and a mentor of mine, who was foolish enough to hire me back in 2006. And I've kind of been in love with the industry ever since. Like everybody else, KSL, Strategic went through a tough time with the global financial crisis. Their stock went down to 62 cents. They laid off the majority of the organization. I managed to survive that, I think, frankly, because they were paying me so little. But that created opportunity. And so I got more responsibility, and it's been kind of a love affair for me ever since.
So then when the jump to KSL?
I made the move to KSL. Yeah, I made the move from Strategic to KSL in 2011.
Okay.
Actually, with the strong endorsement and frankly help of Richard Moreau, and a lot of support from Lawrence. They called Mike and Eric and basically told them to hire me when they knew I was interested in the role, which could not have been a better transition. They could not have been more gracious, and I'm still in touch with them to this day. So yeah, so I came to KSL in 2011 and was there for 10 years until sort of formally leaving the nest and starting Mission Hill.
All right, so do that then. So we know KSL, right? Traditionally, kind of like one of the big players out there, and lots of different investment worlds. So in our world, they have been in the what I'll call full service and resort. That's how we know KSL, right?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about there, and then why the transition to limited service.
Yeah, so KSL was an amazing learning opportunity for me, right? Because they not only are they the best at what they do, but they tend to go after very operationally complicated, large scale, almost battleship size resorts, if you will.
Yes.
And they tend to do very steep turnarounds. And so that was a tremendous learning experience for me over 10 years. Got to work on a lot of different, hotels, a lot of different companies, and has been heavily involved in Davidson as again for the last 5 years, which has been also an amazing experience. But KSL has been talking about getting into select service and extended stay forever. That was not my idea. That was that KSL has been talking about, how do we expand our investable universe? Select service extended stay in any given year is roughly 1/3 of the hotel transactions in the United States. how do we figure this out? And the how is the real issue, right? Because KSL is large, they go after large deals. The average select service hotel is too small as a standalone investment. So for a number of years, they looked at portfolio buys and strategic partnerships and could never quite find the right fit. And at a certain point, after lots of round and round, we just said, you know what, screw it. We have to do it ourselves. Let's find a way to take the best of KSL, the scale, the resources, the reputation, and kind of mirror that up with a small, dedicated team of people with select service expertise who do nothing but look for those 20, 30, $50 million transactions, and then aggregate a portfolio of really high quality hotels over a long period of time. And I was heavily involved in kind of the business plan and the getting some energy behind that idea. And so it sort of naturally evolved into my taking the leap and becoming the founding CEO. So
on the time frame of that, continuing after trying to get in I don't know 16, 17, 18, 19 and failing to jump into the limited service extended stay space, 2020 shows up post-pandemic, and that's when you go, now's the time. Let's go all in, chips on the table, let's go in.
Yes, that's what happened. When COVID hit, our CEO, Eric Resnick, was very early in saying, this is not a blip, this is not a flu. This is going to be a global problem. Let's batten down the hatches and figure out how to protect our people and protect our cash flow. And so I think we had the benefit of being a little bit early in that process, again, as a part of KSL's team. And so we kind of battened down the hatches like everybody else over the course of the first half of 2020. And then we're fortunate to be able to shift our focus to some extent to say, okay, now where are the opportunities here? What does this dislocation, this massive dislocation create in terms of investment opportunities? We made a number of investments during that time that have played out quite well. And we were also sort of revisiting all the older ideas from the last few years, and select service kept coming up, right? And as you know, right, in whether it's a global financial crisis or God forbid a terrorist attack or a pandemic, select service and extended stay is more resilient than a lot of other parts of the hotel investment universe. And so that put it back at the top of our radar. And we said, let's figure this out. And so with the help of my partner, John Eggy, he and I kind of really leaned in, came up with a business plan, hired up a few key folks who were consultants initially and became full-time teammates. Obviously, Tom Barber, Mark Fraioli, Mike Wilbert, Carmen Almos. And with the help of your team, we put together the initial portfolio and kind of took the leap.
Yeah, so maybe I'll go from my perspective. You can keep buttering me up, but you were one up for better, for worse. Maybe Tom, I should blame Tom.
Always blame Tom. Yes, definitely.
You guys were one of the early phone calls in 2020, maybe summer of 2020, when everyone's trying to figure out what the heck's going on in the world. And maybe you were, if you were being really honest, maybe you were trying to get distress. Maybe not, but called, said, hey.
No, for sure we were.
Which was short-lived. But you guys called early on and said, we want in the space. We want to get in a big way. We're raising the capital. We've got the business plan. We want to do this. Can you guys help? Yep. And I'm confident that I thought you were crazy, but said, we got time. And we probably need some crazy people. So let's see how real these guys are. Right?
Yeah. Well, this is one of the benefits. Right. This is not a Mission Hill thing. This is a KSL thing, right? So, KSL has been investing in the hospitality space for, 30 years at this point. And so they've been through the ups and downs. They have great conviction in the resiliency of the travel and leisure economy, right? And its ability to bounce back, its ability to adapt and grow. And, KSL's had a very long history of investing during downturns and doing incredibly well. Because they have the benefit of patient capital, they've got a lot of expertise, et cetera. So they're not in and out, right? They're not sort of short hotels and long office, and then some years later, long office and short hotels, right? This is what they do. And so they had great conviction it would bounce back. Obviously, we have to be smart about the individual investments we're making, but we were not wavering on that at all.
So, maybe the long-term horizon is what helps, right? You can make some short-term mistakes if you get it right on the back end. And I'll get to that, where you think you're headed with this, like what the next 5 years looks like. But but I want to keep picking on this. So again, I would argue you guys were some of the most active players in 2020 2021. So you started in 2020. You were the first people in the space, not the only ones, but there were others, but you were certainly one of the few being active in 2020. One of the most active in 2021 on a sort of single asset acquisition. Help me, we bought what, 12, 13 assets in 2021?
We bought 13 properties in 2021.
I mean, that's incredibly successful on that level, going from 0 to 13. Selfishly, I don't remember how many we sold you, 8, 9, 10, something of those.
Yep.
Which was great for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
But I think you made some really good purchases. And I would, just the way I handicap it, you guys started out paying 90 cents on the dollar, not 50 cents, but 90, and then quickly went to 100 and then 110 because that's the way the world was moving. You guys would probably argue differently. But how do you see the world going now? I mean, now there's tons of competition. We're in 2022. Everyone's got your same idea. Everyone's raised a new $1 billion fund, right?
Yes.
So
look, it's getting a lot more crowded, which is unfortunate. I really wish folks would kind of get out of the sandbox and leave us to play by ourselves. And yeah, we were hoping for a big COVID discount. Obviously, that didn't happen. But what KSL has shown time and time again is that if you can buy what is fundamentally great real estate, and that's different when you're talking about a select service asset versus a luxury resort, right? But fundamentally great real estate for what it is, and where you've got some opportunity for value creation, where in certain cases, but not every case, you have some level of sort of defendable competitive advantage. I mean, you can do incredibly well in this space. And, we could exit an asset in 2022. We could exit an asset in 2032. We have that benefit of the timing on the exit. That certainly helps. But we believe that if we made great decisions on the individual assets, so they each have to stand on their own merit, but then you also get the benefit of the aggregation, right? We felt like there was a real value creation from that as well, right? So because we started in 2021, we consider our birthday March of 2021, we don't have all the legacy issues. So KSL had things to work out, but Mission Hill was starting with a blank slate, right? So we were 100% focused on acquisitions. We didn't have any legacy issues, right? Fresh capital coming in, fresh debt being structured on top of it. That's an advantage, right? So we leaned into that pretty hard. And I think that, we made some unique choices from a geographical perspective. We held the bar pretty high in terms of institutional quality real estate. And I think those things will bear out quite well long term.
What's 22 going to look like for you guys? You going to get more deals done or less deals done in 22?
I think you're going to hold me to this. So I think more. We have 8 hotels under letter of intent right now.
Great.
And so, I think we finished 2022, at more than double our current size.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that.
I mean, it's probably harder, right? There's more deals to look at. So on one hand, that's an advantage. On the other hand, there are more people competing with us. So that's annoying. But we've also learned a lot, right? I mean, and so I think we're getting smarter. I think we're getting more efficient. We're hustling like hell. And so I think we'll find them.
Where are you going to be? Where do you want to play? You want to be in city centers? You want to be in Northeast, Southeast, West Coast? Do you want to be suburban? Where do you want to be?
Yeah, so we are, yes, is the answer. So, it's a national strategy. So, our portfolio right now leans a little heavy East Coast. I think that'll disperse out over time. Everybody's woken up to the drive to leisure opportunity. That's been one of KSL's go-to markets, types of markets forever. We're still looking there. We're finding that a little bit harder. We've made some investments in what I would call sort of single demand driver markets, where the hotel's getting a very large percentage of its room nights from government, military, a university, a major medical center, things like that. We're okay with that because we get the benefit of the diversification. We're looking at several city center opportunities now, being a little cautious there like everybody else, but in growth MSAs, again, with a 5-8 year investment horizon, I feel that feels okay to me.
Yeah, I would think. When are you guys seeing business traveler coming back? I mean, they keep getting paused every time they're coming back, then they pause.
Yeah, we keep thinking it's within the next, 6 to 18 months, every 6 to 18 months.
Yeah.
So look, I think it'll be back robustly in 2023. Our underwriting assumed a relatively slow ramp. But I mean, our portfolio, our existing 13 hotels are projected to run 70% occupancy in 2022. So we think that's pretty good. That's ahead of where we thought it would be. So if we can get plus or minus that and then move that more into the mid to upper 70s in 23, we'll feel great.
Because of your long-term outlook, if I can put words in your mouth, right?
Yeah.
And again, if we can get it right on the back end, we'll be good.
Mhm.
And you can, your words, you can sell in this year, or you can hold it for 10 years, right? You're pretty flexible.
Right. Yeah, we are making the decision solely based on economics, right? So we're not in love with the asset. It's not like we've got family members employed there or anything where there's other considerations. It's strictly math for us and for KSL. And so we could sell one hotel next year. Frankly, we could sell them all if we found the right buyer. But Mission Hill is KSL's select service extended stay investment vehicle for the long term. So the team, will continue to cycle the real estate, but the goal is to be part of the KSL family, kind of permanently.
All right, give me some global predictions for 22. Where's your genius mind? What's your crystal ball?
I got to go find it. I don't know who you're talking about.
He's on the green line to Mission Hill.
That's right. There you go.
Give me some global perspectives. What do you think? Are you concerned about interest rates? You concerned about inflation? Give me or none of that. Yes, no.
Yeah, all the above. So I think that I'm fairly optimistic about from a sort of the pandemic trajectory. I think we'll have waves, but each one's peak will be lower as we go forward, or at least that's what gets me to sleep at night. I think that interest rates are going to move in the wrong direction on us. I think that the labor issue and sort of inflation in general is going to be a big factor we're going to have to navigate the next few years. I mean, we're seeing that in every aspect of our industry. I'm sure you are as well.
We are.
And that's going to be tricky. The one sort of silver lining there, if you will, relative to what I've done, in terms of other hotels that are larger, more operationally complicated, right? One of the things you love about extended stay and select service is efficient operating model, right? So that the cost structure is very lean. So the wage inflation is not quite as punitive to us as it would be at a luxury hotel, and still allows us to operate quite profitably. So that's a benefit. Yeah,
it's what everybody's learning, whether they're jumping in, especially our extended stay model. I mean, it's been so good.
Yeah.
So, Greg, this is great. I got to ask though, final question. What's the meaning behind Mission Hill? Where did that one come from? A monstrous design firm that threw out thousands of options, and that's the one we settled on?
Well, that's not where it came from. I will tell you though, we were foolish enough to spend some of that money and try and come up with names, and it's hard, right? Because every good name by definition is taken in some ways. But Mission Hill is actually very personal to me. And so Mission Hill is the name of an old neighborhood in Boston. The Green Line is a public transportation system that runs through that part of the city. And Mission Hill is a neighborhood that was sort of the landing spot for immigrants from a number of different countries over the better part of the last 150, 200 years. And some of them happen to have been named Keneally, but what's really neat about that neighborhood is it's where people who came with not more than grit and determination landed and then built something better, right? They were laborers, and then they were skilled laborers, and then their kids went to college, and now they're doctors and lawyers. And so it's a really neat story. And what I think it represents for us is there are a number of people in our organization, even though we're small, that have that family story of someone who came here with nothing and worked their ass off and now made something better. And Mission Hill is a startup, admittedly a well-funded one, but we're a startup, and so we're building from nothing. But I also love the fact that our industry does that, right? The hospitality industry, which doesn't get enough credit for this, in my opinion, by the way, is the first rung on the economic ladder for millions and millions of people. And some of them, like Richard Moreau, the CEO of a publicly traded strategic, came all the way to that level of leadership, right? By climbing that ladder one rung at a time. And we meet people every day, as I know do you, in our industry. We're starting out as housekeepers and front desk agents and stewards, who will eventually be GMs or executive leaders in the organizations that we do business with every day. And I just love that aspect of our industry. And I love the fact that Mission Hill means that to me and my family and to the families of other people in this office.
I love it. I knew there was a personal story there. I had a feeling. That's why I asked the question. Greg, this is great. You're a super leader. Cheers to you guys and everything you're doing there at Mission Hill. and KSL. And here's to a great 22. Let's get more done.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. Thanks, Teague.
Thanks, Greg.